What is going on, YouTube fitness family? I got my boy Tristyn Lee here. He is in a deficit, looking absolutely shredded, making me feel real fat. What we got together today to do is give you guys the perfect back workout for aesthetics. What I mean by that is, if you're in a deficit, you've got to be really careful about not pushing too much volume. You have to really refine your training in order to not build up too much fatigue. So Tristyn, I'm gonna put him through it, but I'm gonna walk you guys first through the principles I'm gonna utilize in order to and think through on how to create this program for today. Tristyn, what do you think? You excited about this?
Yeah, I'm hyped. It's always a pleasure training with Eric. This guy's an absolute monster, as you guys have seen from his channel. Not only that, he's got the brains behind the brawn, so I'm always excited to learn actual science-based lifting and hopefully apply some of it to my deficit that I'm currently kind of coming up on an end on. So.
Yep. And as we know, science-based lifters, we don't train hard at all. So we're going to be training really soft today.
And they're all small, clearly.
We're all tiny. But yeah, so first principle that we're going to focus on is really getting full utilization of every muscle in our back, but prioritizing the muscles that are most important for aesthetics. And those are going to be primarily lats, rear delts, and secondarily like rhomboids, because when it comes to building an X-frame, you really want to build out that kind of X shape, and that's going to be primarily driven through lats. So a lot of guys, they'll focus too much on, like, let's say heavy compound rowing, which is going to build up the spinal erectors, lower back, and even like if you go more upright, kind of like a Pendlay row, you're going to build up your traps. You're almost going to build yourself up and in instead of out. And really what we want to do is create a 3D look, but also build outward so we can make that waist look smaller, because bodybuilding at the end of the day is an illusion. Number two is going to be really careful about maximizing the amount of stimulus to fatigue. So what that means is we want to drive as much acute stimulus into the back while minimizing the amount of fatigue CNS wise, because if we train and we go whole hog, we start off with some heavy 3-plate rows. With the deficit, his CNS is going to be so fried that it's going to be so hard to really get enough stimulus in the back to drive soreness, and you'll probably just be more tired and it'll be hard to recover. Number three is going to be injury prevention. As you get lower and lower in calories, your joints are going to be more brittle, you're going to have higher levels of inflammation, you might not be sleeping as well, and we have to be extra cognizant of not driving super heavy loads very explosively, which could cause injury, tears, tendon. And the last thing that we're going to want to focus on is maximizing bracing potential. And this is something I talk about a lot of times when it comes to back training, is if you have a lot of, let's say, hip hinge movements, you don't have enough bracing potential to drive that acute stimulus into the back. So what we want to do is have enough bracing points. So that could be a hand, that could be our chest, that could be, using a bench on cables, or like a pad for a pull down, so that we can drive acute stimulus into the back. So we're going to use these principles. I'll show you guys how we do so. Let's get into this workout. Okay, so first movement pattern, we're going to be hitting a pull down. I like a pull down to start because it allows us to drive a lot of stretch into the lats, and also just get everything warmed up without having any pressure on the lower back. So we're gonna drive on this pad. The biggest thing I wanna do is reach for every rep, pull the chest open, squeeze, and then slow on that eccentric load. There's a difference between leaning and opening the chest up and driving the shoulders down, and opening and letting that emphasis go into the lats. So I always tell people it's not a lean, it's actually just a stretch and then opening that chest up to the ceiling, squeezing those elbows down. Another cue is pull with the elbows, not the hands. So you want to drop the shoulders and then pull with the elbows. And then when you come up on that eccentric, you want to just pretend like you're letting it up with your elbows through your lats, and your hands are just a conduit. That's why I like to use these Cobra grips. I know you got the Versa grips on, same thing. But the idea being to take the emphasis out of the grip. I prefer a hook grip on most pulling movements, meaning my thumbs wrapped over the bar. So big stretch, scapular tract. We're gonna get 1 to 2 just warm-up sets to drive a lot of blood flow. A lot of people ask me, what do I do for stretching, warm-up? I use my first movement and I make sure that movement has a lot of stretch bias and doesn't tax my lower back. I get blood flow into that target muscle group with 1 to 2 really good warm-up sets before driving into that first working set. Don't worry about getting it all the way to your chest. If that's gonna be at the behest of at the bottom, instead of being here, you're just kind of getting a little bit internally rotated at the very bottom of the rep, just to try to get to the chest. I'm less worried about you getting it all the way to the chest. What I wanna see is here. And even if that's just here instead of here, you're not gonna get any more back. You actually see the back like turn off. That's an over accentuation. You see the difference here. Even if it's just a here or here, the back's still way more on than if you focus on trade it all the way to the bottom, just to say you touch your chest. And I think that's a big misconception. You need to touch your chest on every rep in order for it to be an effective rep. It's more about keeping that scapular retraction to open the chest and not getting that like slight shoulder rollover at that last bit. So second movement pattern, we're gonna hit more lower lat, mid back. And so we're gonna set this at about mid height. We're gonna have this bench almost all the way up. I'll probably put it down one more, about 70-degree angle. We're gonna use this as a bracing point. So a lot of people see me use the bench, and the reason is because I wanna create multiple points of contact for bracing. So when I grab this cable and I pull it back and I sit down on the bench, I have 3 points of contact here, through the bench where I'm sitting, and then this right hand here is allowing good bracing. So the first thing I want to do is expose that lat to tension. So I want to be here, lean out, and what that's going to do is immediately turn that lat on. I'm going to drop the hand. So instead of being up here, I'm going to drop the hand, and I'm going to reach the lat. I want to reach as far forward as I can, and then dig back with the elbow and squeeze in. Same thing, we want to feel like we're pulling with our elbow and not our hand. So big stretch, pull nice and low the elbow, and you're going to get a ton of lat isolation, and you don't have to worry about obviously lower back fatigue because you've got this bracing here. So I want to reach in, drive that elbow back and squeeze. The biggest mistake I see on these is rotation thoracically. So you'll see people do this and reach here. You don't want to reach here, you want to reach forward through the lat, and instead of turning here to pull, that's going to go right into the rear delt and trap. We want to stay here and go forward, and then all we want to do is open that chest to drive tension in the lats. So stretch, don't rotate, push the chest open, drive that elbow back.
Right into working set, yeah?
Yeah. No need to warm up. So what I tell people is, if you're already warmed up, unless you need the first time doing an exercise, you need to like potentiate, do a few reps just to get used to it. That's fine. But if you've done a movement pattern once or twice, or 100 times, you don't need to warm up on every single exercise. You should be fucking warm by your second or third exercise. So I want you to lean out here, expose that lat to tension, and less rotation through the spine, more pushing forward towards the bench. Push the chest forward, yeah. And then when you pull, right there, it's not right through there. The other thing he's doing really well, you see how he pulls like down and then through? That's the force curve needed to keep emphasis on the lat. So it's almost down and then up as he lifts his chest. Like that?
Yeah, it's good. It's not like super centrally fatiguing. So.
Yeah. Drop shoulder, and now lean out this way. Yeah. You see when you lean out slightly, it exposes that lat instantly to tension. Yeah, I see that nice low drive is sensational. So it's almost like an arc up and then down and then up at the end. It's almost like a kind of like a sweeping motion like this. All right, so we've done high to low, We're doing mid back. Now we're gonna go low supinated. So the reason we're going supinated is to really target through that lower lat, that insertion, spinal erector, infraspinatus. So from the very base, we're starting to build out into the X-frame. So what I mean by supinated, hand up, soup, hand down like a bowl of soup, hand down pronated. Supinated allows us to pull very effectively, like I said, through that elbow and almost create that scooping motion, like we talked about last exercise. So this one is nice. This
getting
machine
leaner, but I'm covering it
has
up until I get a pump.
multiple angles.
Yeah.
I set this
We're getting there. We're close to like
all the way forward
he
so I
always
can
looks
maximize
less
stretch.
Yeah, it doesn't
Plant
even make
here,
sense, dude. He's not a human.
Angle out again. I'm gonna go single arm. You can go dual on these, but I like to isolate, get as much stretch as possible.
This is a whole new level, okay? Like this is like double. This is like 2.5 times me. He did. He just finished. Like he just stopped it.
As you can see,
Little bit ago,
reach
yeah, maybe a bit
with the
over.
lat, dig up, chest open, squeeze. All right, so that was our third exercise. I just asked Tristyn how's fatigue, just because when you're in a deficit, you have to be really mindful of obviously how you're feeling, how fatigue's building. Said fatigue's starting to get up there, so we're gonna do an upper back bias and then a pullover, but I wanna make sure we don't go crazy. We wanna focus on quality over quantity, and so we're gonna, since lats is our focus, we're gonna go right into like a lat pullover, lat prayer kind of movement, just to really finish off the lats with minimal joint exertion.
Just for now, we'll come back.
Not as much load as like a compound pull like this. Pullovers, you guys have probably seen me doing before. I want to turtle shell the back, so I want to immediately bend the elbows to about 170 degrees. I want to roll the elbows up towards the ceiling.
I know you're Canadian.
Immediately expose those lats of tension, stretch through the lats.
How long are you here for?
Drive in without changing that elbow angle. So I don't want to go from, a lot of guys will go from here to this.
Okay, nice.
What I want to do is maintain the elbow angle, stretch, drive through, big squeeze. All right, so that was an awesome workout. Obviously, like we talked about, managing volume to maximize stimulus, minimizing fatigue. How do you feel about the workout?
It's a solid workout. I'm obviously on like low food right now, so it was really good to be able to train with someone who knows how to actually manage volume rather than just putting myself in the tank and then just not being able to recover. So,
how many carbs do you get to have today, Tristyn?
Today I get to have like 900, so
it's going to be a good day then.
It'll be a fun day.
Dude, thank you so much for training me, dude. It's such a pleasure. If you guys are not following Tristyn on all of his platforms, he's got a breadth of knowledge and obviously nutrition, obviously natural training. Totally different ball game for natural versus enhanced. So if you wanted to get a lot more information about how to manage your training, manage your food, get the best results, go and follow Tristyn. If you guys are not subscribed to my page, go ahead and do so. It means the world to me. And we will see you guys in the next video.